Hi, welcome once again to Starseed Rising 333. I'm glad you've tuned back into this channel, and if it's your first time, welcome. My topic today is called The Beauty of Spiritual Freedom. And if you enjoy listening or watching this video, please don't forget to click the like button, subscribe or share, or just leave a comment. Now, the majority of people are born into a religion that was given to them by their parents. This religion or faith was most likely practiced by their family as well. Unfortunately, in most cases, for example, if you were born a Muslim in an Islamic country, it is extremely difficult for you to leave this Islamic faith because Islam is considered as the way of life. In Muslim countries, the Islamic faith is intertwined in their legal, political system, as well as part of their traditional practices and culture. That's why, for example, if a Muslim wanted to leave the Islamic faith, besides these external factors which I've mentioned earlier, a Muslim on a personal level has to deal with the reactions from relatives and friends, which can put them in a state of fear of being rejected or outcasted from their family and community. This could also happen to an individual who has Jewish or Christian parents or brought up in a Jewish or Christian family or community. So, going back to the title, what does spiritual freedom really mean? First of all, I just want to just describe what the word spiritual mean. Okay, now I have checked online, okay, because unfortunately I do not have a dictionary on hand. But from what I found out, okay, the word spiritual means relating to or affecting the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. Okay, so what does the word freedom mean? The word freedom means the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants. The state of not being imprisoned or enslaved physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. Okay, so now, first of all, we need to just take a closer look, because this is what I'm going to be doing, all right? To find out, okay, to answer these questions, to find out, okay, what can help us to become spiritually free, and is it possible? Okay, because a lot of us, okay, have that opportunity and that freedom to be able to even to change the faith that was given to us by our parents, but it depends on whereabout you live in the world. And as I said, if you do live, for example, in an Islamic country, it could be because of other external factors besides the family and community. It may make it difficult, okay, for you or an individual to do so. All right. Now, okay. So, to answer those questions, okay, we first need to in order for us to be able to get the answer to become more spiritually free or to experience true spiritual freedom, we first need to go back in time. All right, when Jesus of 2000 years ago said those words, I am the way, I am the truth, and the life. Now, whether you agree, okay, or recognize or acknowledge Jesus of 2000 years ago, all right, he is the most important prophet, and he is above all prophets, okay? He Because he paid the ultimate sacrifice by sacrificing his life to free the world of the bondage of sin. All right? To enable us to have a second chance, all right, in obtaining salvation and everlasting life, okay, from the Most High through him. Now, I know that, okay, for like when it comes to Judaism, okay, and also with the Islamic faith, uh, a lot of scholars, okay, a lot of people who belong to that faith find it a bit difficult, okay, to acknowledge Jesus of 2000 years ago as above all prophets, okay, and there's a lot of controversy. Some of it is, I guess, from what I have found out, all right, that with the Jews, um, they have a problem, okay, because uh, Jesus, okay, was born out of wedlock, okay, he was not born in royalty, okay, and his parents did not have some type of status, all right, and also the Muslims, okay, the scholars as well, okay, also have a problem because, and I think there's a lot of controversy, okay, when it comes to Jesus's conception. But as I've said in my previous videos, all right, that in order for Jesus to fulfill prophecy, he had to come somewhere, because Jesus said that he was with his Father before the universe was created. All right, before the universe was created, before man was created, he said he was with his Father in heaven. All right, but he had to come to earth to fulfill that prophecy. Okay, and it had something to do with the covenant, because he is the promised seed of Abraham, and obviously he come from the line of David. And in order for this prophecy to be fulfilled, all right, then obviously he had to come somewhere, and he couldn't come, in spirit, because if he came in spirit, we wouldn't been able to see him. So he had to come, just like as all of us, we arrived on this planet, okay, in human form, in flesh form, in order for him to fulfill that prophecy. All right, okay. Now, before Jesus ascended, he told his disciples that he will pray to his Father, and that his Father will give or send them another comforter, which is the Spirit of truth, which will guide them to all truth. Jesus also said, you shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Okay, so the question now is, free from what? Free from what? Okay, and the answer to this is freedom from spiritual bondage. Okay, so what is spiritual bondage? Spiritual bondage is a state of being captive, enslaved, and controlled by forces that are not aligned with God's, I call him Allah because I'm a Muslim, will of not aligned with God's will, hindering one's ability to live a life of freedom and spiritual growth. All right, I'll just repeat that again. Spiritual bondage is a state of being captive, enslaved, and controlled by forces that are not aligned with God's will, hindering one's ability to live a life of freedom and spiritual growth. Okay, then how can spiritual bondage come about? Okay, how can spiritual bondage come about? Spiritual bondage can come in a form of a law to control one's spiritual and physical vessel and manage one's relationship with God, the Creator. It can be done through legalistic or performance-based systems where rules and rituals take precedence over grace and love. It can also be done through thought patterns built on lies or beliefs that contradict God's truth to hinder spiritual growth through fear, confusion, rejection, guilt, despair, hatred, and shame. And this was the main aim, all right? From what I've discovered, this was the main aim of the creation of the Onam Sanctum, okay? And this is linked with Christianity. And then you got the Babylonian Talmud, which is linked to Judaism, all right? And then you got Sharia, okay, which is the Islamic Talmud, which is connected to Islam, all right? As well as other rule books, all right, in Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. In my opinion, we were given three main books. Okay, we were given the Torah, okay, then we have the Holy Bible, okay, and then the Quran to help and guide us on the straight path. In addition, okay, to this, we were created in God's likeness and image and have the natural instinct to distinguish what is good and what is bad. This is in our nature. All right, this is in our nature. Okay, and that is where our intuition, all right, comes into play, which is our sixth sense. Okay, and our third, which obviously is described in spirituality, is called as the third eye, which is just between your brows. Okay, and it's also our gut feeling. Okay, because our intuition, okay, our intuition, or the third eye is like a spiritual compass. It is the messenger of our destiny, okay, which is the end result of the decisions and choices that we make, because our fate is in our hands. All right, destiny is in our hands. It's not out there. It's not out there. It's all to do with the decisions and choices that we make. All right, for our life. All right. And it also is the language of the soul as well. It's one of the greatest gifts, okay, besides life, we possess to connect to our higher self, the universe, and to God, the Creator. Okay, now what men have done, okay, for example, the Sharia, the Islamic Talmud, you are not allowed to criticize, scrutinize, challenge, or have any doubt about what the scholars wrote, which doesn't make no sense, okay? The scholars, um, from what I have found out, okay, they either describe themselves or are seen as perfect men, but no man is perfect. We all can make mistakes, okay? Part of our intuition can cause us to doubt certain things, okay, that was told or taught to us, okay? And this is just part of human nature. And again, I just want to just bring in this example, which I've mentioned in my previous videos. I just did one just recently, and as well about the Sharia. Okay, if you were to if you have the Quran on hand, there is a part in the Quran where when Prophet Muhammad was receiving revelations from the Most High, he was guided, all right, to seek assistance, okay, from those who had received revelations before him, okay, and these were great men of the book, and the book was the Torah, all right. So Prophet Muhammad was advised to do so because there was some, there was a time, okay, when Prophet Muhammad doubted what the revelations or the channel messages, and he was then guided to do that. All right, to go to the scholars who had the book before him, and basically that was the scholars of the Torah. All right. Okay, so what I want to do now, I don't know, if you have the Holy Bible on hand, all right. So what I'm going to do, I just want to go to Galatians. Okay, this book was written by the Apostle Paul, all right. And I'm just going to read part of Galatians, all right, which is found in the New Testament, okay? And I'm going to be reading chapter 3, verses 1, all right? Where, again, and this is to do with receiving, okay, the spirit of faith. So I'm just going to just briefly read on this, all right. So it says here, the Apostle Paul says he's addressing this, okay, um to the Galatians, all right, at that time. And he says, "O foolish Galatians, who have bewitched you, that you should not obey the truth, before whose eyes Jesus Christ have been evidently set forth, crucified among you. This only would I learn of you. Receive ye the Spirit by the works of the law, or by hearing of faith? Are ye so foolish, having begun in the Spirit, and ye now made perfect by the flesh? Have ye suffered so many things in vain, if it be yet in vain? He therefore that ministereth to you the Spirit, and worketh miracles among you, doeth he it by the works of the law, or by the hearing of faith?" All right. And it then goes on to say, "Even as Abraham believed God, and it was accounted to him to righteousness. Know ye therefore that they which are of faith, the same are the children of Abraham." All right. So what the Apostle Paul is saying here, all right, is that in order for you to receive, okay, and the this spirit, okay, that was promised to the disciples, okay, by Jesus, okay, which is the coming of the Spirit. It's all to do with enlightenment. That you need to have you have to have a stronger faith, all right, in the Spirit. You have to have a stronger faith, and not, like, solely relying on what is written by man, all right, and allowing someone, all right, to dictate to you, to manage your relationship with the Most High. Because by doing that, okay, it's limiting you, it's limiting your spiritual and um, personal growth as well. All right. And also, um, once again, I just want to also mention here, because this is very important. Okay, now you may say, okay, well, we need the Talmud, we need the Unum Sanctum, okay, we need the Sharia to guide us. But we were given three main books to do that. And when it comes to the law, all right, that was given to the Israelites, the only reason why, all right, this was done. Because if you were to go back in time, all right, you never associate the Abraham or Noah or Lot having any type of guidebook. The reason why this was given is because the Israelites back in the days, they didn't become Allah's chosen people because of their faith or because of what they did. It was because it had to do with a promise that the Most High made with Abraham when he says that I am going to create a nation out of your seed, and this nation will be held captive in a strange land, and then I will select one which is among these people who are held captive to deliver them, okay, out of that strange land. All right. Now, so these so-called Israelites who were living in Egypt at that time, okay, they to be honest with you, they followed and did a lot of the things that the Egyptians did. Okay, and this is the reason why before they were able to cross over, all right, the Red Sea, they had to cleanse, all right, they had to move away from things that were not pleasing to Allah the Creator, because the Egyptians, okay, including Pharaoh, they were not worshippers of Allah the Creator. Okay, that's why you have these wordings where it says a strange people in a strange land. All right, because the reason why they use the term strange is because these people, okay, or country or land or okay, does is not I used to say a people, right? People, they were not worshippers of the Most High. So that's why they use that term, a strange people in a strange land. Okay, and even if you were to go back and read uh um when Moses went away, there is a bit there, okay, where the when Moses went away, the Israelites, okay, they built a golden calf. And when Moses returned, okay, with the commandments, he started asking, okay, why did you build such a thing? Because they started, like worshiping this golden calf and whatever. And Moses was very angry about what they did, because he just couldn't understand that after all what the Most High Allah the Creator had done for them, had led them out, used Moses to lead them out of the land of Egypt. And then it's almost like they were sort of like turning their back, okay, on Allah the Creator. And that's why Moses was very angry. And also, Allah the Creator has also warned about idolatry. All right, because in one, there is a part in the scripture where uh, um, Allah is saying that, do not worship any God besides me. He says that. All right. So they were actually, that actually made not only Allah, the Creator, angry, but also Moses angry as well. All right. And also the Apostle Paul, okay, at that time, as well, in the time when he was addressing the Galatians at that time. I just want to just quickly go to First Corinthians chapter 2, verse 5. So let me just quickly, so please bear with me. And if you have the Holy Bible on hand, I have the King James Version Bible, but I'm sure there are many different versions. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly go to Corinthians. So please bear with me. Um, First Corinthians chapter 2. Okay, verses 5. Okay, it says that your faith should not stand in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. All right, so this is what the Apostle Paul is also telling the disciples and all Jesus's followers, okay, that your faith should not stand in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. All right, and as I said, I call him Allah because I'm a Muslim. So, in other words, all right, because the reason for this, okay, is because um the wisdom of men, okay, can lead to errors and mistakes, okay, and the Apostle Paul also said, all right, that the Mosaic law or any other law cannot give you life. It cannot give you life. All right. And our spiritual inheritance does not come from the laws, all right, written by man. It comes from God. Jesus is the mediator. He is the mediator, okay, or the of that law, and that's why Jesus said, "I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life." So we need to focus um, on the covenant, okay, the promise, the agreement that was made between Allah and Abraham before the law that was given to Moses. Okay, the covenant cannot be cancelled. The law given to Moses was not abolished, but it was changed in slightly. Okay, for example, when it comes to observing the Sabbath, okay, as well as sacrificing animals, all right, to acknowledge the Allah, the Creator, all right, and also the Apostle Paul also said, and he says, do not return to spiritual bondage. And the Sharia, okay, which is the Islamic Talmud, um, has put Muslims under spiritual bondage, just like the Unum Sanctum, the Babylonian Talmud, which also restricts and manages an individual's relationship with the Creator. Okay, and Allah is not happy about these additional guidebooks. He is not, and one of the things which I was shocked to discover, because obviously a lot of people, especially if you are spiritual or religious, you will know that with the what happened, unfortunately, with the Holy Bible, a lot of books were taken out, a lot of books were added, a lot of verses, words were taken in, was there was a lot of things that happened with the Holy Bible. But then I also discovered, okay, that the Quran, all right, the Quran is not sacrosanct, it's abrogated, and what the Islamic scholars have done, they've made the Sharia, the Islamic Talmud, sacrosanct, and it cannot be abrogated, it cannot be criticized, it cannot be scrutinized. So that doesn't make sense. And for the scholars to write and say that you cannot scrutinize what they've written, it doesn't make sense, because I just gave earlier the example of Prophet Muhammad when he received those channel messages, and he was a bit sort of he was in doubt or a bit confused because he wasn't too sure where these messages came from. He was guided to seek the men who had the book before him. All right. Now, these books, okay, what was channeled to me, okay, with these books, these additional books, these additional guidebooks with rules and whatever, they are going from what that has been channeled to me, that these books will eventually be done away with. All right, because more and more people, because we are in judgment season, we are in the age of Aquarius, which is the age of the mind. We are living in the last days. A lot of people are awakening now, spiritually awakening, and a lot of people that will experience, okay, will have that will or I should say, the coming of the Spirit, all right, or the Spirit of truth is going to come to them. They're going to awaken, all right, because Jesus did promise this, all right. He promised this to the disciples. He promises to the disciples as well as anyone that choose to follow his footsteps. He says, "You shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free." You know, because Jesus in the book of John, he also told the disciples, "There's lots of things I would like to do that," and he said that to the disciples before he ascended. But because um, the disciples had not yet reached spiritual maturity, that they wouldn't be able to understand. That's why he says that when I go to my Father, I will pray that my Father send you a comforter, which is the Spirit, or the coming of the Spirit, and by them receiving, the coming of the Spirit, that will able them to understand a lot of the revelations, a lot of the channel messages that will be um sent to them. All right. So um and as I said, the Apostle Paul warned about that we should have faith in spirit, and not so solely rely and be dependent, okay, on the laws that is written by man. Because as I said, uh, because we are not perfect, all right, there is chance, all right, that error can be made. And as I said in my previous videos, a lot of the scriptures, whether it's the Holy Bible, the Talmud, all right, as well as the Quran, a lot of these words have been misinterpreted. And you may say, "Oh, why is that the case?" But the Most High allowed this to happen because He wants us to turn to Him for guidance, for wisdom. Okay, because whatever you get, whatever you receive from this, whether it's to do with the main guidebooks, whether what else is written by man, whatever information you get is limited, and it will limit your spiritual and personal growth. So true wisdom, true power comes from Allah the Creator. All right. And this is why the Apostle Paul, he warned of this, okay, not to go back into the spiritual bondage, or as he did also described it as the yoke of bondage, okay, which refers to being enslaved by something, often sin, or a set of rules that restrict freedom and prevents true spiritual growth. All right. And as I said again, once again, as earlier I said, that the Apostle Paul, warned of the dangers of putting your faith only in the laws written by man, and instead of having faith in spirit. All right. um and Jesus affirmed the validity, of the Mosaic law when he came, not to abolish it, but to fulfill it through his life, okay, teachings and death. He fulfilled the moral, civil, and ceremonial laws, which includes ritualistic practices. That's why I said earlier, okay, that's why when it comes to things like the Sabbath and things like doing like sort of like sacrificing animals and all of these things, that's not necessary. I should say that's not necessary now, because he paid the ultimate price with his life in order for us to receive salvation through the Most High, okay, which is Allah the Creator. So Jesus' death atoned the sins of humanity by paying the ultimate sacrifice, which was sacrificing his life, which helped reconcile humanity with God, and the forgiveness of sins. He created a new covenant. Okay, by doing this, he created a new covenant based on grace and faith rather than the old covenant emphasis on law. Okay, and this is to do with the law that was given to Moses back in the days before he came. All right, and Jesus of 2000 years ago is the mediator of the new covenant. All right, so to conclude, the way we can acknowledge Jesus is by following his footsteps. He is a perfect example. And Jesus was all about love. Okay, Jesus was all about love. If you were to study his life, all right, everything he did was an act of love. That is why the majority of pictures or images that you see of Jesus of 2000 years ago, you always see his heart exposed, all right, in the picture, because he did exactly what his father told him to do, all right. He demonstrated what Allah the Creator was all about, because Allah the Creator is all about love. Love conquers all, and we should all be operating as children of Allah, of children of God, the higher power. We should all be operating in the essence of love. Love is part of the fruits of the Spirit. It is part of Allah's nature. The creation of the Unam Sanctum, okay, for Christians, the Babylonian Talmud for the Jews, the Sharia for the Muslims, is not based on the principles of love and was made to keep an individual in spiritual bondage, when Jesus, through his death, has set mankind free. There is no law in regards to the fruits of the Spirit, which was demonstrated by Jesus Christ of 2000 years ago. Even though laws exist, no man is perfect. All right, no man is perfect, and this is stated in Ecclesiastes, okay, in the Holy Bible, chapter 7, verse 20. All right, where it states, "For there is not a just man upon earth that doeth good and sinneth not." Okay, and also King David, okay, who wrote most of the verses in the book, the book of, or the, I should say, the book of Psalms. It stated there, okay, when he was praying to the Most High, part of Psalm 143, where he says to the Most High, "Enter not into judgment with thy servant, for in thy sight shall no man living be justified." So, in other words, you can strive to be upright, but you cannot strive to be perfect. It's impossible. It's impossible, because we are all capable to sin. All right, we are all, so we can strive to be upright, but we cannot strive to be perfect. It's impossible. All right, and this is the reason why, we do the most popular ritual of all. We practice the most popular ritual of all, which is prayer. Okay, so as children of the Most High, of God the Creator, of Allah, we should acknowledge Jesus, all right, acknowledge, follow his footsteps, and the Jesus of 2000 years ago, and obey the two commandments which he left. Of these two greater commandments, which is above the ones given to Moses, okay, which you can find this in the book of Matthew, chapter 22, verses 37, 38, and 39, okay, where Jesus said to his disciples and followers, he said, "Love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love thy neighbor as thyself. All right. And by doing this, you will then experience the beauty of spiritual freedom. So I hope you enjoyed listening or watching this video. Once again, I'd like to thank all my supporters, my viewers, my subscribers for supporting my channel. Whatever you did in the past or what you're about to do now is much appreciated, and it doesn't go unnoticed. And please, if you did enjoy this topic, please don't forget to click the like button, subscribe or share, or just leave a comment. Thank you for watching. See you next time, and goodbye.